Welcome to Two Brave Unicorns, the show where we highlight change makers who are doing good through innovation. Today we have Jacob Kloberdanz, founder of Estate 8 and OneHope Wine, on our show. I was lucky to meet Jake in 2006 on a political campaign. We were both young and alphas, as he used to say at the time. Jake has, in my opinion, always been this very humble but destined entrepreneur, someone who sees opportunities that other may miss. Jake, I'm so happy that you are willing to spend some time with us today. You're obviously continuing to build this amazing business. You're building a community around this business. Tell us about your business and what mission are you on today?
I'm excited to be here. Your intro is nice, Keri, and it's really good to reconnect and get to share about what I've been working on ever since first meeting you a long time ago. And, when I started OneHope, it was officially start date was 2007. I came up with the idea in 2005, and it started from the most humble beginnings you can out of a public storage unit with a few pallets of wine. The business has had the same purpose since day one. It's about the only thing that hasn't moved as the business evolved over the last couple of decades. And our purpose today is to nourish the future. It was the same on day one. It just took about 100 words to do, and we've gotten it down to 3 words. OneHope really was the first thing to teach me that a brand can be both commercially strong and deeply meaningful at the same time. And you can do those two things, not just in parallel, but in partnership with one another. And we also learned how to build trust with customers and partners and other communities by being consistent in what we stand for and where we show up in the community. Those lessons all carried over to kind of the second chapter of our business, which is really a lot more focused on real estate and hospitality, but had the same core purpose and a lot of the same elements around building community around brand.
I actually remember being at that U-Haul and getting cases of wine to take to restaurants to tell them about your mission. So that humble beginnings, but hard worker. And this didn't happen by accident. So ever since I've known you, you've been working on endeavors, whether it was in technology or now with Estate 8, to create community, right? And I think of what you do as being incredibly meaningful and almost mimicking that sentiment and that feeling of being around your grandmother's kitchen table. Like, I used to say that I had 2 favorite places in the world. It was my best friend's patio and my grandmother's kitchen table. And I feel like the brand that you've built and the community that you're developing is all to build that. And I'm just wondering, why do you think building a community and community in general is so important to you personally?
It's interesting when you bring up grandma's kitchen table. My grandma was the first entrepreneur in our family and was a huge inspiration to me. And I don't know that it was her kitchen table, but it was certainly like watching what she was able to do for my mom and her brother and sisters through business. And as I watched my mom grow her business too in the footsteps of my grandma, there was a moment where it kind of broke through that the most powerful things that we create as business builders is not a product or even a property in the case of our Napa, but it's really a set of relationships and a team of people, and that people aren't going to come back just for the wine or the place, but for a sense of belonging. And seeing that in motion as a little kid and realizing the impact the business is having on these people's purpose that we're working at it every day and their belonging.
You were like creating connection to a brand before that was a thing, right? And now that's what everyone's trying to build through influencers or brand ambassadors or whatever. I think it's fascinating what you've done. And my dad, who owned a business, used to always say, not only about his community, but about like the people that worked on his team, what a heavy responsibility that is to take on someone's rent or mortgage or whatever. I totally appreciate everything that you're saying, and growing up with entrepreneurs is certainly inspiring.
Once the idea of like stewardship of an actual piece of land became central. The idea that ownership meant caring for something together over time became even more apparent. So it's always kind of gone back to reinforcing that we're building a community more than a product, and that when it comes to the property, it's about stewardship even more than ownership. And that's kind of the chasm we've crossed, where the business has naturally become more of a community than a portfolio of products or property.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that stewardship works? Because I think for listeners, they want to understand you're a winery, but you're much more than that. And what is it that your community does to give back? And how does that work with your business model?
Our vineyard investment partners are not only owners in our property, but even beyond that, I shared that I think about them as stewards of the property. And the thin line between investor and steward is that investors typically look at an asset while a steward looks at a responsibility. So we kind of invite people to do both, to see ownership as participation in shaping a place in a community, not just a line on a balance sheet. And I think financial performance still really important, just to be very clear, and it matters deeply, but it's strengthened by care, patience, and long-term thinking, which goes right alongside the purpose of our business, nourishing the future. And so that combination of both ownership and stewardship, not one or the other, I think has this combination that creates something more resilient over time. And that was really important to us.
It sounds like the strength of your company is what allows you to give back. The stronger it is, the more you can do.
That's right. I really look at them as one and the same, and our ability to give is impacted by our performance, and our performance is impacted by our ability to give. And so
Yeah.
they have been reinforcing to one another at times rather than a burden to one another. So,
Your model is clearly disruptive, right? As far as like the way that the conventional Napa Valley does business. So do you feel like a disruptor? And do you think that model needed to be disrupted?
um, I don't feel like a disruptor always. I feel like an innovator, and like thinking about approaching things differently. There's trade-offs of not having lineage in Napa Valley and not being a third generation or fourth generation. It's like the downside is you don't have property, and it's really hard to elbow your way in now, and it's really financially constraining to get started in wine, and you don't have any reputation or name that matters to other people in wine. But you also don't have any reputation or name that matters to anybody in wine, and you don't have any of the constraints that come with the sense of duty to a existing family brand. We certainly have a sense of duty as a brand, but yeah, I've gotten to build that from the ground up and create that along the way with little to sometimes no expectations out there. And I think the opportunity to disrupt is talked about a lot in the Bay Area. I think for me, it's been kind of democratizing more than disrupting. And initially, it was kind of democratizing the idea of having a wine tasting that was a Napa Valley level wine tasting in your own home. And a lot of people like have to save up for a long time to make it to Napa for that one trip versus being able to have like a good wine experience and connect with people the way you do on a trip up to wine country, but in the comfort of your own community, and also be able to give back to it. And so that idea of bringing that experience to people's homes and their neighborhoods was the first way we did that. And then the next way it kind of evolved in this progression of democratizing the opportunity to own a little piece of the Napa Valley dream and that little slice of heaven. And I know how big of an exception to the rule we have been in pulling off what we pulled off right in the heart of Napa on Main and Main, and between the most iconic wine brands in the history of Napa. And so giving people the ability to co-own a really special property like that, and it not even needing to be a trade-off, it being one of the benefits that you own it with other people and you share it with other people and you connect with other people through it. It's It's been part of our vision to build the most innovative, iconic, and impactful company of this generation in Napa. And I think it's more innovative than disruptive, and democratizing an opportunity for more people. That has been kind of our competitive advantage, if you will, to get here.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Who doesn't want to say I own a vineyard?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who like dream of owning a vineyard and winery. They don't dream of running it and taking care of it day to day. So as you
Right.
pull back that cover, you're like, ooh, maybe I just want to be part of a group of owners and share some of the efforts, and then have a company of people that think about it every day when they wake up and go to bed thinking about it. And when you want to come and stop in, you still feel that sense of ownership and stewardship, but it's not your full-time job. And so finding that sweet spot has been a real breakthrough for us. And we realized it's a big differentiator because there's a lot of people here in Napa that are making incredible Cabernets, and we're doing it right alongside them. I'm proud of our wine portfolio. It's extraordinary, but it's not differentiating in regards to Napa Valley. There's so many admirable neighbors around here as far as wine goes. But when it comes to experience, community, purpose, those are the things that we hang our hat on here.
When you're thinking of organizations and charities and nonprofits to support, how do you guys make those decisions?
It's changed a lot over the years. It started with us having 3 causes and 3 wines, and each wine gave back towards its own cause. And of course, we started having people be like, I like Cabernet, but I want to give back to breast cancer, or I
Mhm.
like Chardonnay, but I want to give back to autism. And um, over time, we evolved that to where people can host wine events and raise money for their cause of choice. And so all
Oh,
over the
great.
country, we have people doing these little micro fundraisers by gathering people around wine. We've donated over 50,000 nonprofits through that platform and had 75,000 plus events. So that became the way to kind of give people all over the place an ability to raise money for their cause through the power of bringing people together around wine. Um, we've also decided as co-founders, and there's a handful of us. When we started, we were all in our early 20s. Now we're all in our early 40s, and none of us had kids. None of us were married. Now we have 14 children between the 6 of us, and it's 3 men,
That's
3 women. And so, we've always come back together about every year and revisited what do we want our impact to be through this business. And over time, we evolved to give back towards breaking the cycle of poverty, and thinking about a focus on greater access to food, water, health, and education. And we've done really big gifts in that space. We've funded over 3.5 million meals to date. We've brought clean water to nearly 100,000 people around the world. But we honed in even further about a year ago and decided, hey, we're going to really focus on that children's education part because it impacts so much and it's such a sustainable way to give. Along with funding schools, which we've done for 7 years now, to today underwriting the distribution of school supplies to under-resourced schools throughout the US. All of our ambassadors and customers around the country, with each bottle that we sell, we underwrite the distribution of $25 of donated school supplies. So basically, some of the big producers of school supplies every year, they have a bunch that don't end up getting sold, and they end up donating this into this organization, and then we get it out to places that need it. It's kind of twofold because in addition to kids who don't have a backpack or supplies in that backpack, you're also underwriting money that's usually coming out of school teachers' pockets. So the average school teacher in America spends $1,500 to $2,000 out of their own income, and that's pretty significant if you look at the gross income of the average teacher in America. Serving teachers and children here domestically has become central to every bottle we sell. And then we still have our platform where people can give back to their cause of choice and their local community on top of that. And we also do fundraisers and try to support lots of other great causes that we believe in by donating experiences to live auction items, like coming out and staying at a state eight, the private home on the property, coming out and having one of our food and wine experiences. And so doing those kinds of donations for live auctions and silent auctions have raised millions more. And today we've donated over $10 million directly to nonprofits and raised tens of millions more through the events that we've helped.
That is really amazing.
So I'm just like kind of listening to you and thinking like a few things. One, do you give yourself the grace to stop and be proud of what you've done?
Is there a second part to it, or should I answer that one
No,
first?
that's question one, and then I have a follow up.
I probably fall into a similar category that a lot of other entrepreneurs who are always looking forward do, which is I'm almost always looking forward. So I'm not celebrating myself a lot. Some of the milestones that we made, probably as much as maybe I should, or as much as other people think I should. But I'm also not getting too hung up on all the failures I've had looking backwards too. And I've had plenty of those. And I think as an entrepreneur and as a visionary, your time's almost always best spent on the present and going forward. And so I do try to be present in the moment, especially when I get an opportunity like I did on the ground in 2019 to visit schools. Or in 2023, I went to Colombia and I built one of our clean energy and clean water systems that is benefiting a whole community of thousands of people. And so I'm really present in those moments. I would say, though, day to day, I don't take a lot of time to sit back and be like, man, we did it. Because I do feel like we're not nearly where I envision us getting to. And so it it keeps me hungry for sure. I do give myself more grace than I used to when I was younger. And I've created space to enjoy life and to also not miss my little kids who are 1 and 3.5 growing up. And so it's a healthy balance, and it's a discipline that I'm constantly working on, which is recognize the blessings in life and the achievements that we've done as a business, for sure.
So most people that started a business at the age that you started OneHope, right? I don't think would have set out with a principal objective of giving back to the community, either local, global, national. What do you think made you care about that? Because that's rare, right? Like a lot of people are thinking, oh, I'm gonna own my own business. I'm not gonna have a boss. I'm gonna make so much money. It's gonna be so great. But you've always been, no, we're gonna have an impact and we're gonna make change. And where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from my grandma's. Looking back, I can see that now, and passing that through their children, my mom and dad, and then growing up with that central belief in good people. That was like the foundation of it. And then I think I learned about business ethics and integrity and the importance of intrinsic motivators along the way, formally in business school and informally through School of Hard Knocks and being entrepreneurial. And then I think it became crystallized into what OneHope is through one of my closest friends from childhood getting blood cancer and being put in touch with my mortality as a young man for the first time with someone I loved. And then realizing life is short and having that scare me, but also realizing life is short and having it give me courage to do something that I believed in. I don't know how many people have been impacted by the work that we've done, but I know it has significant meaning. And that's serving our purpose. And you can be happy with that. All of us have an end date on us. And so just always known that there will be a day where I have my last day of business and work. But that act that's been left behind will have created tracks going forward for a lot of generations. And so I was lucky enough to be born into entrepreneurial family and purpose-driven women in my life. Not to say my dad didn't have influences on me, but they were just the most significant, all the way to a loved one having an impact on my sense of time to leave this world better than the way we found it.
Yeah. Mortality hitting you in the face is a definite thing.
Yeah.
It is. And it's crazy that you can go till 22 not having it impact you. I mean, I hadn't even had one of my grandparents pass away yet at that point. So to have one of my healthiest, most athletic, most gregarious friends, my first friend girl, get sick with something so serious, it brought me down to the world for better or worse. And as a eternal optimist, I'm sometimes unrealistic, of course. So I think this healthy balance of getting grounded in reality by things like that is really good for us as leaders. And that was a moment in time that kind of made me realize this is what I want to do for the rest of my career.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a great team of people that you kind of all came together when you had this epiphany in 2007 and had this idea. Just even in the questions we've just asked, it sounds like you guys are constantly reinventing it as well, and it's evolving into a lot of different things. Are there things on the horizon that you're excited about?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I'm excited about on the horizon. When I look ahead, the long-term vision is build the most innovative, iconic, and impactful company of this generation out of Napa. And I think that allows us space to go beyond wine. Success for me looks like families returning years from now and feeling a sense of continuity and pride in what they helped build in the form of this brand and in the form of the property portfolio that we've been building out here in Napa. Um, it means that our estates and our physical properties are cared for and that the community continues to stand for something clear and consistent and meaningful. Financially, we're aiming for strong and durable performance too. I think legacy is really measured in both returns and in relationships in a lot of ways. And so that's kind of where I see things going. Yeah, I'd like to grow our portfolio of properties from a few today to um, 6 or 7 on the Napa Valley floor and being able to have 40 rooms of people filled and creating memories here in this tiny little corridor of Napa.
What's your favorite memory that has been made over wine?
Oh gosh, I've had a lot of them, but watching my son go up to a bottle for the first time and take a corkscrew to it at 2 years old and turn it around like this was one of my favorite wine memories. I can still see it when he was doing it, and I was like, "Wow, kids really do watch everything you're doing and stuff." And he was up trying figure out how to get into a wine bottle almost before he could walk. So a lot of my memories that are my favorite are the recent ones because they're with the little ones in my life. This weekend, seeing my son ride his bike with training wheels on it around the winery and racing around this track that kind of goes around the property. Shoot, that might be one of my favorite wine memories. But over a glass of wine, I couldn't even tell you what the actual wine was that I was drinking, but it was on the side of a wall of Montefiorelli in Italy, like an hour outside of Florence in Tuscany, brown bagging a really good Italian wine that we had just got at a bodega for like $9. It was probably one of my favorite wine experiences, and watching the sun crack out from a cloudy day and hit these sunspots across these rolling vineyards. I think one of my favorite days, favorite bottles of wine I've ever had. I've had some other meaningful times with family celebrating really important milestones, and wine seems to always show up in the background. I can tell you this about my favorite bottles of wine times is that the good wines will remind you a wine. Great wines will remind you of the place and the people you're with. So all of my best wine memories are with beautiful places and with people that I love.
What about you, Jill? Does anything come to mind?
Well, my mom found a property in Glen Ellen. She bought it years ago. She's since passed away, but my stepdad still lives there. It's on like 10 acres of land. It's absolutely beautiful. We've made a lot of wine memories in Sonoma and around that area, just watching my kids grow up there, being there in the summer. I have a lot of love for that whole part of Northern California. We have cousins there, and they're in the wine industry. So it's just fun to have any excuse to get back there when we can. How about you, Keri?
I don't know. I was trying to think as I asked that question what mine would be. I think some of my favorite memories are actually over beer and IPAs with my dad. But I will tell you that I think that like the first time I looked at a wine list at a restaurant and knew what I was doing, I remember actually that being a pivotal moment because I was asked one time to order a bottle of wine. I didn't know what to get. And they said, you can tell so much about someone by what they order. And oh my God, that's so much pressure. And then I gave that sentiment a lot of thought, actually, as I tend to do with things. And I really took time to understand what regions in our world are known for certain types of wine. And I remember the first time I ordered an Oregon Pinot, I feel like I did something right.
That's great.
Oh yeah, Oregon's great at growing Pinot and Chardonnay and a bunch of other stuff. It's a wonderful growing region. I remember having the first Carneros Pinot Noir I had ever had, and being like, "Wow, that's so good!" And it's a really similar region actually to Oregon coast. It's the south of Napa. So I remember I had a couple of bottles of wine with you, Keri, on out in Newport Beach on like a awesome settings, at least in your early career, because you were in your early 20s. That's probably one of the more fun early bottles that we had had.
Yes, yes. No, we definitely crushed a few. That was an interesting time in my life because I did live in Newport, but I
Yeah.
worked in Westminster on Little Saigon,
Yep.
and talk about two like totally different areas. I mean, literally rats fell from the ceiling.
Yep.
And
15
yeah,
minutes away too.
Yeah.
It's like going to Beverly Hills and cruising 5 miles down the road to Skid Row. And
Yeah.
I've given out food in Skid Row after meeting in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive. It's really wild that the disparity tends to be extreme in those regions where there's a lot of wealth and a lot of poverty. So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I remember I was in college and my dad taught me a ton, but we were at a fundraiser and he was talking to this young girl and not in a weird way, like and her mom. And they were talking about how she was getting ready to go to college, but she wasn't sure how she was going to get around. And, she had worked and had a great GPA, all these things. Anyway, my dad sold her his car for $1. Just
Wow.
and I was standing there and then he like bid on the car that was up for auction. And I said, how did like you don't even know her. Why did you do that? And he was like, because she needed it. And I think like that's why we do things.
yep. If you can, you're lucky enough to be able to do that. For sure. Yeah, that's a big driving force, I think, of a lot of people like your dad, why they built businesses so they could do stuff like that,
Yeah.
and be able to do it without having to overthink it, you know. So,
That's a
An
great
alpha.
story.
yeah, it is.
I remember after my dad talked to you for the first time, he came and he goes, Keri, what is an alpha?
That's funny.
And I said, Dad, you're an alpha. And Jake's an alpha. And Jake would tell you that I'm an alpha. Um, he was like, what's all this talk? What's an alpha? And he was so proud of himself to be considered one.
Great.
I think I was using a phrase alpha female to describe you and other women on my team.
Yes. Yes. No, that was a big thing. And that was like a trend back then, but we should go back to that. I like that better than girl boss or,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like boss lady. I don't like any of that.
I have a question about how the stewardship works. This is definitely for listeners. How can anyone be one? It sounds like when you were talking earlier about micro giving, you could have a small party, and do those lead to stewardships down the road? How easy is it for someone to get involved? Does it take a big investment?
It doesn't take a big investment to get involved with us. We have the ability to host wine tasting experiences with people who are wine reps of ours around the country. And the cost of our host kits are made to be super affordable. I think they're
Great.
$49 plus $20 of shipping, and you get a whole bunch of value in there. A lot of our wine reps also earn credits, and so they'll host tastings around the country that don't cost the host anything and are there to really raise money and awareness and getting people trying it. And when it comes to our vineyard investment partner community, which is a much smaller community of people, it's a little over 100 people, that has grown very organically from me and our co-founders being introduced to some really special people. They range from athletes and musicians to some of the greatest visionaries of our time, to artists and creatives and philanthropists. And there's no like one size fits all. It's a very eclectic community, but the common thread is that they're rooted in purpose and they're really interested in being a part of what we're doing. Some are more interested in real estate investment and actually the idea of owning a piece of really special property portfolio in Napa. Some are really excited about wine. So
Mhm.
anybody who's interested in that, it's easy enough to get in contact with us or come see us in Napa. That's been a relationship driven thing. So a lot of the people who are part of our vineyard investment part of our community and truly like stewards and owners of the land with us, we've gotten to know over the course of time. But it starts with meeting them first and then working our way towards a relationship of trusting them enough with our baby.
Do you still watch high school football recruiting videos?
No, I haven't watched them for a long while, but every once in a while I do. They're more and more prevalent of seeing kids at a really early stage, but I was always interested in catching some of these stars young. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Do you
yeah.
do like fantasy football or have a favorite quarterback?
Ooh, thanks for asking that. So Aaron Rodgers has been a longtime friend and we went to Berkeley together. And he's been a supporter of OneHope and Estate 8, everything from our property and brand for a long time. He's a pretty big contrarian, so he has acquired taste, and not everybody agrees with him on everything he says, but I think he's one of the smartest and most accomplished and best armed quarterbacks of all time, and I love the guy. So I would still say him. Brock Purdy is a close second because
Mm.
San Francisco is our team and he's a stand-up dude. I've been fortunate enough to get to beat him on a few occasions and he's everything that's advertised and then some. Him and his wife are awesome people. And then I don't play fantasy football. I haven't for like 4 years. It started when my I was about to have my first child. So I just decided I'm done spending this much time watching sports and letting it impact my mood this week or this month. So
Yeah.
As you know, I'm a huge college football fan because of my dad, but I have recently learned a lot about Joe Burrows,
oh yeah.
and I find him so fascinating. Do you know that he gave, because you know the quarterbacks give the O line gifts, right?
Yeah.
And so he picked out individualized samurai swords for every O lineman.
Yep.
And that's what he gifted them. And it wasn't just like, these are generic samurai swords. It was like, no, this samurai did this. And it reminds me of you because of this. And that's what he gifted them.
Wow. That's amazing.
This year he supposedly gifted them authentic dinosaur and mammoth fossils.
He did. He put them all out on the table and he
Yep.
had a drawing. So it wasn't like you got to pull and then choose the one that you wanted to keep.
Yeah. So fossils, samurai swords. I mean, he's a cool dude. He's a great quarterback too. I mean, Josh Allen, I'm a big fan of. I like watching him play. There's so many good quarterbacks now in the league right now and young guys. And yeah, I still do love football. As I think you probably know, I switched from football to rugby while I was at Berkeley. And
Yeah.
so I still think the most exciting game in the world is watching a great rugby game, like when the All Blacks are playing anybody or some of the top teams, Ireland, UK, etc. But football's pretty good. They keep figuring out a way to pull us back in, especially for the playoffs. So I love it. And yeah, I remember your dad is an Oklahoma Sooners fan, right?
He played football there.
Yeah, there you go. Okay,
Yeah.
very
So
cool.
I continue to keep on the family tradition of rooting for Oklahoma. I spend as much money on college football as I do on shoes, and it's a very expensive hobby, but
Mhm.
I do get really into it. And it's a fun thing. I used to call him from Texas games during the Colt McCoy years and say that, and Oklahoma was horrible at that time, and say, this is what winning sounds like, and hold the phone up to everybody cheering.
I'm
Nice.
sure that went over really well.
Oh, he loved it. I mean, we would call each other and be like, it's college game day. And we would have like a whole thing. It was like our thing. No, we razzed each other. It was so much fun. So
That's
I keep
awesome.
it up, and I still like have a special place in my heart for Baker Mayfield. I hope that he can get a Super Bowl someday, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's fun watching him too. I root for him for sure. I like the underdog. So
Yeah. So I try every year. I have like a bucket list game or stadium that I cross off my college football list. And the year that I crossed off the shoe was the year that Oklahoma that he planted the flag. So I was there when he did that, which was pretty cool.
that is cool. Yeah, at Cal football, we haven't had so much luck of having too many championships since
Yeah.
1959 or 58 or something. But it was fun to watch Fernando Mendoza leave us last year and then go and have a perfect season and a Heisman Trophy. And I kind of jokingly said it. I was like, watch him go and win the Heisman and win the championship. I didn't know he was going to go undefeated too. And then sure enough, it actually happened. It was fun watching their season this year too. So impressive. Gives universities like UC Berkeley some hope. If you have a coach that comes in like the new one here and can recruit and bring the right kind of money behind it, you can have a chance. So it's strange that it's gone from being an amateur sport to being pro sport, essentially college level
Oh,
football.
I
But
hate it.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the portal. I don't
yeah,
like any of it. Uh,
I played college football during a totally different era, but you could feel it going in that direction. And there was already conversation happening, and that was 20 plus years ago. So
yeah.
I figured it was inevitable over time, and here it is. And yeah, for better or for worse, it is creating the opportunity for programs like IU to have a chance to compete. So I'm excited for you guys. Hopefully you guys make it out to Napa and can see the space we've built out here. It's really special. In addition to Estate 8, that has 8 suites and a bunch of different cool spaces to meet and spend time together. The winery and tasting room is designed by one of the greatest architects in the history of the United States, but definitely here in Napa, named Howard Backen. Most well known for being the architect behind Restoration Hardware, but he has
Mhm.
plenty of other really impressive wineries and properties that he's designed over the years. And we're lucky enough to be kind of one of the very final projects that he completed in Napa. He passed the 88 last year. We celebrate him and his fingerprints a lot here on the property. And then there's also a new cottage that's like a 2-bedroom, 3-bath place. So it's a really one of a kind property in Napa, and we're expanding to a couple other things. We have a little boutique hotel on its way, and it's being renovated right now, and we'll be rocking and rolling by fall of this year. And so come see us. And if your listeners ever make it out to Napa, they should come and see us. We're right in the dead center of the Napa Valley, across the street from Cake Bread and just north of the famous Robert Mondavi property, the next door neighbor to it. We plan on being a brand that is a household name sometime down the road, but for anybody who comes by, they're still like part of the less than 1% who know about us, you know? So we're still a
Yeah.
baby in the scheme of things. If you're one of those people who likes to discover things early on, we're still that, even though we're a couple decades older than we were when we first met, Keri.
Well, I talked to my mom about coming out. We're going to try and come out this year.
All right, awesome. I look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you guys when you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending some time to make a connection in our community today, and for your time and for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Keri. Thanks, Jill. Appreciate you guys.
You can find today's guest, Jake Kloberdanz, OneHope Wine and Estate 8 at onehopewine.com. And you can find us at 2bu.co. That's TWOBU.co. Do good, do it now, and do it often.